Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Widgets and Wonders. This is my weekly show about great products from small companies. Today we've got two new neoprene gaming mats from UrbanMatz. We have a swamp mat. It comes in 6x4, 4x4, and 3x3. We'll be looking at the 4x4 today. And the new Barren Wastes map. This is the Wasteland map. And it is sort of a Badlandsy, rough ground, scrubby grass, kind of a, I guess, Badlands? Yeah, it's Badlands. It's a Badlands mat, and it'll be in 6x4. So I'm going to throw down some terrain and some models so you can get sort of like a good idea of the scope and scale of the detail on the mats, and we'll take a look at them both right now, starting with the swamp mat. So here we are starting off with the swamp mats. This mat is 4x4, and it would be perfect for something like War Machine, and also the new General's Handbook Age of Sigmar book. All the 1,000-point level games are recommended for a 4x4 foot board, so this would also work perfectly for that. I have some sort of nice scenics by Greenleaf Terrain here set up on them, and some models from Mutant Chronicles Warzone Resurrection and War Machine, so you can get an idea of the mat. And the mat itself, a variety of textures, but they're nice and subdued, so even the bright parts aren't too bright. And it very much looks like the bayou. So you've got kind of almost like the submerged outlines of stones and trees here. Bit of tree here, but I would almost say that you could play all this as being water or swamp on the flat part, and it would not look wrong. Like, it actually looks like it could be just straight up like swamp with these being islands sticking out of it. The colors are great. They match the terrain I have sort of pre-existing really well. Let's zoom in real fast and give you a closer look at it with some models. So here it is, some models and terrain on it. We've got a nice rocky outcropping hill here with some of Boomhowler's boys, Boomhowler and company, some trolls. And then here we've got some of these Mutant Chronicles guys. So you can see these are standard 32mm models. These are on 40mm bases, 50mm bases, 30mm bases. To get an idea of the scale of the detail, you can see the nice sort of like outlines, I think, of trees. Like back here is a really good example of like some submerged swampy trees. This is like little lily pads and stuff on here. And even with sort of how simple the design is and how sort of smooth and subdued the design is, you could actually do different scales on this too. It wouldn't look wrong playing a 15mm scale game on here and just having this be a swamp. I think it would look just fine. You just have larger trees and stuff, and anything that's too large detail, like there's some bigger trees over here, you just throw a train on top of it like that, and then you've just got kind of a nice murky ground. It also could just be very dark grass, so this could just be very swampy ground. It doesn't necessarily have to be a swamp itself, but it reminds me of the idea of what the island of Crix looks like in War Machine. So I think this would be a great base for a Crix table and to play some Crix games of War Machine on too. You could also use the 3x3 obviously for Bayou for Malifaux, and the 6x4 would just be a great simple green mat. You could use it as grass or as swamp for games of 40k Fantasy and Kings of War. I think they'd look great for all three. So there it is, a close-up look at the swamp mat. And so here we have the 6-foot Badlands mat with some Horus Heresy stuff on. I've got my Sycaran mainline battle tank and a recon squad for my Alpha Legion, and then some Kings of War units, Grog Magok, BSB, Magigante, and a unit of ogres, or a horde of ogres, just for scale purposes. And then again, some terrain from Greenleaf Terrain. One of the things, this is almost turning into an ad from Adam's Greenleaf Terrain too. One of the things Adam's really good at is making terrain that looks great on almost any mat. So as much as this looked great on the swamp mat, it also really fits the Badlands mat. I don't know how he does that. He's like a wizard with colors where everything kind of blends perfectly with the terrain, but it's almost like this was custom made for both mats. And it wasn't, it came out, it's actually the same terrain that I just took off the other mat and put on this mat. But once again, I think almost all the same things I said about the swamp mat can go for this one. It's got some wonderfully sort of like, it's got a very similar palette. So where one was all very dark green, this one's all very sort of soft colors, soft browns, soft beiges, soft greens. There's not a lot of hard edges to it. So even like before, you could kind of get away with different scales. So I do have two 28mm scale sort of like sets of armies on here, but you could definitely play Epic 40,000 on this. You could play, I would say, Team Yankee on this. The scale's not going to look amiss. The details aren't specific enough that they couldn't just be big, like slightly larger rocks or boulders or something like that. The Badlands could just be more Badlandy, and it would look fine for either. So we'll zoom in again, and you can get a closer look at the detail as I sort of pan forward and you can see the mat up close. So there you go. Once again, you can see grass details, stone details, all blend really nicely into the table. The palette itself is really great because the models kind of pop off. I think what's great about the subdued palette is we have bright miniatures, like the Giant's very bright, the Psycharon's actually quite bright, so are the Ogres. They kind of stand off the battlefield a little bit more. So I'm really happy with it. I think actually this might be my favorite generic turf mat. I've filmed a couple games on it so far. I filmed a Let's Play for Age of Sigmar, the General's Handbook, that you guys have either already seen or might see in the very near future. And I also filmed, I think some of this is not test stuff on this, because this is a great sort of like even post-nuclear wasteland, you know what I mean? Because nature comes back faster than people do. So really happy with this one. Again, it's just, I don't know how it happens that all of the terrain I have for like generic stuff like hills and stuff that Adam made from Greenleaf Terrain just matches every mat I get sent perfectly, but somehow it does. And it just looks fantastic. So fabulous job, again, for just making these mats. I think the great thing about the UrbanMatz mats, for the last two especially, is that they make the focus on your army. Your army pops off the table and looks really sharp as opposed to disappearing into all the details. So there's lots of really fine detail up close, but the details they don't draw your eye to them so much that they distract from the armies actually on the table. I think they frame the armies rather than distracting from them. So there it is, a look at the 6x4 Badlands mat from UrbanMatz. All right, so there we go. Another look at UrbanMatz neoprene gaming mats, the 6x4 Badlands and 4x4 Swamp mats. To find out more, click the link in the video description below and you can check them out for yourself. Now, if you know of a great product from a small company, you can have them email me at guerrillaminiaturegames@gmail.com or Facebook message me at facebook.com/outofthebasement-in-the-streets, and I'll do my best to put it in front of people. It's a really brave thing, making something, put it in front of the world. I believe that deserves all the support it can get. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next week for another Widgets and Wonders. Till then, Ash, happy gaming.